to Tuscaloosa. Oklahoma visiting Alabama. Alabama is a 7-point favorite at home. Oklahoma must win this one to stay alive in the college football playoff race, although you think maybe at 9-3 they get in. I don't.
I don't anymore. The
schedule looked horrific at the beginning. The back end of it, and we're talking about having to play LSU and Missouri at the end, does not look as bad as it did before. This is the big one.
Let me rephrase. I think they could get in at 9-3, but not having lost this one. I think they would have to win this one to get in at 9-3. They don't get to. I think this is a playoff elimination game for Oklahoma if they lose.
Yep. That said, can Oklahoma beat Alabama? We the last time we saw Oklahoma, they played at Tennessee. I would say that was their best game of the season. That was the best they looked offensively. Defensively, they had the scoop and score by R. Mason Thomas that really kept them afloat in the first half. Great kicking performance. So 3-phase win for Oklahoma at Tennessee. But they play against Alabama, which Alabama to me, Ari, is a team that when they know they're playing somebody good, you get their best. And that's the thing. They're going to watch this Oklahoma film. They're going to understand the stakes of the game. They know what they've got coming in. So I bet we see Alabama's best against Oklahoma. Plus, there's a lot of carryover from last year's Alabama team. I don't think those guys have forgotten losing to Oklahoma in Norman, which knocked them out of the college football playoff.
R. Mason Thomas is playing, right? He's healthy. Everything's okay with him.
That's a good question.
He got banged up in the Tennessee game.
Well, he got hurt running for the touchdown.
Yeah. But my understanding, or I think I remember that Brent Venables said after the game that he should be fine. So, and that was 2 weeks ago. And these are athletes, baby. They get their bodies right. This is going to be a revelatory game because Oklahoma at times has been a very confusing team. You know, it started off hot, it reached some lows, and then it got a huge win at Tennessee. And I think that I'm having a hard time identifying like how capable this team is. I think they've unequivocally gotten better from year over year from last year. But in terms of competing with the best teams in the sport, have they arrived there yet? And I cannot get the first half of the Tennessee game out of my head. Now, I understand that they ended up winning that game going away. They played very well in the second half. But Alabama is the most complete team that Oklahoma will have faced all year. Like even Texas, for instance, like Texas wasn't playing well at that juncture. I'm going to lay the points here. I think Alabama is a touchdown better than Oklahoma. I think they're probably 10 points better at home. Payback factor, well-rounded team. I think their defense is going to cause some issues. Now, I don't think that Alabama is going to run away with this one. I think it might kind of look a lot like the LSU game did, where it was a one-possession game for a large portion of it, but it really never felt like LSU was, in a position to win. And then they pull away and win by 10, 11, 12, 13, whatever, when the game's over. That's the way I see it playing out. I'm going to lay the points, and I'm going to ride with Alabama, who's playing really well right now.
Well, the way I think about Alabama is, we talked about this the other day. The Florida State loss, just throw that out. Complete fluke. It doesn't resemble any other game they've played this season. So let's throw that out. Who's been able to come back on Alabama when Alabama's jumped on them? Georgia really is the only one. Georgia got back in that game and made it a game and could have won. Remember, they dropped a pass in the end zone that would have put them in the lead in the fourth quarter. But nobody else has been able to do that. The only, South Carolina stuck with Alabama because Alabama messed around and Alabama just couldn't get going offensively. Alabama has been able to get going offensively against almost everybody else. Now, this is a really good pass rush. This is probably the best pass rush that Alabama's seen. So does that make a difference? Does that bother Ty Simpson? I don't know. I do know that watching Ty Simpson this year, he gives you confidence that he's going to get the ball out no matter how many people they got coming after him, or he's going to know, hey, it's a 7-man rush. I have a 6-man protection. That means this guy's wide open. He looks like that type of quarterback who processes quickly, who knows where his guys are, who knows where his check down is. And I think if you keep doing that, I think they're going to be fine. So I am with you. I will take Alabama to cover in this game. And I think Alabama just keeps on rolling toward an SEC title game appearance.
One thing.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama is not very good at running the ball. They rank 120th in the country in average yards per rush at 3.5. And they're outside of the top 100 in rushing yards per game. And I wonder if Oklahoma can corral their rushing attack and then get after Ty Simpson if they could do a little mucking. That's the one thing that would concern me about this. I'm going to stick with my Alabama pick. But, as we are getting to the point in the season where we're trying to decide which teams are legit, real national title contenders and start comparing them to other teams that are ranked higher. Like if you wanted to nitpick, that's where I would nitpick Bama. And I wonder if that's going to rear its ugly head at a bad time for them at some point. Maybe it won't. I don't know, but it's just something to acknowledge while we're picking it.
Oh, it is. And I think, you thought maybe Jam Miller would be the guy who carried that rushing attack. There have been games where he's been very good, but overall he's only averaging 3.7 yards a carry. And I think probably a lot of that is the quality of some of the defenses that they've played, but they also haven't needed it that much because there are things they can do in the pass game. There's a lot of high confidence passes they can have Ty Simpson throw to guys like Jeremy Bernard, who can turn, a short throw into a long gain. And maybe that has replaced some of the traditional run game. But it's interesting you bring this up because I do think as you go forward, when you get into maybe the college football playoff, they're going to need to do better in the traditional run game. I think they can beat Oklahoma without it, but I think some of these teams they might have to play later, they're going to need it.
What's really interesting is if you actually look at the top rushing teams yards per carry in college football this year, here's the top 10. Navy 6.4, Oregon 6.36, Cincinnati 5.99, Arkansas 5.98, Utah 5.92, Georgia Tech 5.90, Michigan 5.84, USC 5.81, USF 5.80, and 10 Vanderbilt 5.75. None of the best teams that we perceive to be the real best teams, maybe outside of Oregon, are in that list. And I wonder if passing and being unstoppable through the air is just kind of becoming the new style. Or if you feel like you cannot run if you're going to lose a game when it matters the most because of it. I don't know if the game has changed enough where you could say, hey, you don't have to be a great running team. Ohio State's not a good running team either.
Notre Dame is, though.
60. Notre Dame is in the top 20 in yards per carry. So is Texas A&M, and and Indiana's 12. So you have three teams there that, people view as good enough to do it that are in the top 20, but nobody, it's not like Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, and all those are the top 5 in America like they've been in the past. It's kind of different this year.
It is. I don't think, like I said, I don't think Alabama needs it against Oklahoma, but they're probably going to need it at some point. So we'll see if that can improve.
Maybe that's Ohio State's Achilles heel that we, everyone that says Ohio State's the number one team in the country with no weakness. Well, they've been running it better recently, but they don't have Trey Henderson and Quinshon Judkins aren't back there.
It's not the same thing. CJ Donaldson and Bo Jackson are good, but they're not those guys.